Hi, this is Mark by Mark A. Foster, Ph.D. for the Maoist Third Worldist Collective. Today I wanted to discuss the mediocrity of my first world problems. We in the first world often fret about things which to most people in the world would be considered nothing or relatively nothing. Last night, I decided that I would go out, roughly around 8 o'clock in the evening. It was dark here, to Denny's restaurant, which is a kind of like International House of Pancakes, diner type restaurant, um, breakfast food, lunch food, dinner food, and a variety of different kinds of things. And as I was turning onto the road where the restaurant was, I went over a median in the road. And immediately I realized that I had two flat tires. So I kept on driving about 3 blocks to Denny's, parked in the parking lot, asked if I could leave my car there overnight, which they graciously agreed to. Following morning, I called a tow truck. Tow truck came and brought my car to a mechanic. And I found out that not only did I have two flat tires, I had two destroyed wheels. So the problem was worse than what I thought. Most of the problem I got taken care of today, meaning I paid the fee for the wheels. They'll be delivered on Tuesday, supposedly. They will put the tires on the wheels after the wheels are put on the car, and then I will drive off my merry way. Fortunately, given my financial blessings, it's not a hardship for me. It would be a hardship perhaps for other people. I'm very grateful that that is not the case. But I thought about after these things were taken care of, after I got home at about 2 o'clock this afternoon from paying the fee for the wheels. For some reason, there's a policy that this particular auto company does not accept checks over the, not checks, but credit cards over the phone. I don't know why. Apparently there's been some fraud. Whatever the reason is, they don't accept credit cards over the phone. So I had to get a cab over to the Nissan dealer. I paid for the wheels there, and then the cab drove me back home. And I thought, again, first world problems. First world problems. Things that seem so problematic for those of us living in the first world in many cases would in most parts of the world be viewed as nothing or next to nothing, just minor little things to take care of, or they could become absolute disasters, meaning the car would be permanently undrivable because they couldn't afford to fix it. They might or might not be able to afford a new car. And as a result, they might even lose their jobs. Third world problems. Much different than what I had to go through. My experience was trivial, was relatively insignificant. Who cares? I don't care. I don't care. Not really. I paid the money. The car will be repaired in a few days, and I will drive the car back to my condo, park it in my assigned space, number 51, and then go back inside. And that'll be the end of it. I might think about it again once or twice, but the incident will be resolved. It'll be over. That'll be it. I will never have to deal with that problem again unless I make that mistake in the future, which is a possibility. My night vision has never been that good, and going over a median in that area was unfortunate, but it was an unlighted area, and I probably should have put my eye drops in, which give me a sharper focus, but I didn't do that. That may or may not have helped. I don't know. But regardless, first world problems. First world problems when compared with the really heart-wrenching, devastating problems of people in the third world are nothing. People who can't pay for the basic necessities of life. When I was in Kinshasa, in the Republic of the Congo, I would walk past every day people with bloated bellies. They were literally dying of starvation, and there was nothing I could do. Nothing. All of us were told by the agency which sent us there not to give these poor people any money, because that would, in effect, turn us into Pied Pipers, where all these people would simply follow us all around, expecting more of a handout. So what might be a solution in the short run, in the long run would not be a solution at all, because I was only there for a relatively brief period of a couple of weeks, and then I was back in the United States. There was nothing really that I could do. Nothing. Now, collectively, we can give to charities. We can try to help people out. But even those are not really solutions. They're Band-Aids. The problem is capitalism itself. The impact of capitalism on the third world is much greater than it is in the first world. One could argue that the experience I had last night and today was a problem of capitalism, in the sense that I had to pay for my car, had to get new wheels, will have to pay for the new tires on Tuesday and their installation. That's capitalism also, but it's not something which is unmanageable for me. It's something which I can handle with relative ease. It's not even hardly an inconvenience. It's a minor thing that I will deal with this week, the early part of this week. And I should get my car back either on Tuesday or at the latest on Wednesday. So I think about my life and what I have to complain about. And I realize how trivial my complaints really are, how trivial my first world problems are when compared with the often life destroying problems that people have in the third world. When a minor mishap, to me, could destroy a person's life, could ruin that person's source of income, could even lead to starvation and homelessness. To me, my problem will lead to literally no problems at all. I won't even notice it. So the question I asked after thinking of this as being a first world problem, is it really a first world problem? Maybe. But if it is, it shows how insignificant they really are in many cases. Now, I'm not dismissing the fact that some people in the first world do have genuine problems. That's not my intention. Fortunately, I grew up. I did not have to suffer. I always had food on the table. I always had a place to sleep. I never had to worry about being robbed, living in an area with high crime. I lived a relatively comfortable life for my social class. I had no real first world problems. Minor first world problems, but not real ones. Trivial, insignificant first world problems, like the one I had last night and today. So I think it might behoove us, especially those of us living in the first world, to view our problems in a different light, perhaps, and to relate our problems to the kinds of disasters that so many people are experiencing in the third world. For example, just 2 miles to my south, across the Rio Grande River in Mexico, which I've discussed many times in the past here. Cars blown up, houses blown up, people blown up. That is not something I have to worry about. Now, is that to say that that might not happen to me? No, it could. Anything could happen. Is it a realistic fear? No, it's an unrealistic fear. And I would even say that perhaps a person who dreads that from happening might want to see a therapist and have it diagnosed and treated, because it's not realistic. It's not something that people in the first world generally experience. On the other hand, someone from the third world that had that kind of fear might legitimately fear those kinds of things from happening. Why? Because they happen all the time. Do they happen all the time here in the Rio Grande Valley of Texas, or in my previous homes in Kansas, Virginia, Georgia, Mississippi, and originally New York City? No. I lived in relatively crime-free areas wherever I have lived, including in New York City. Virtually no crime at all. I had nothing to worry about. And in fact, I worried about nothing in terms of my safety, because I'm a realist, or at least I try to be one. I try to take situations as they exist objectively in the world and not as they exist in my imagination. So I think first world problems, are they really problems? I guess that's a matter of perspective. I would not want to say that anyone's problems are not problems. I would never say that, especially not to a person who was experiencing them. But in comparison with the tragedies that people have to live through day in and day out, living in the third world, most of the problems that we experience in the first world, that I experience living in the US, are barely problems at all. This is Mark by Mark A. Foster, Ph.D., for the Maoist Third Worldist Collective. Have a pleasant day and an even better day tomorrow.